Well, all right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Legend Sports and Amplify. We're always here once or twice a week talking baseball history, Negro League history, Latin baseball, all those passions and pursuits that go along with it, research, writing, collecting, art, acting, you name it. And today we're going to do something a little different. This will be a lot of fun. We are going to use a different medium to try to tell the stories. And I've had both of these groups on here earlier, and we've talked about their backgrounds, but we're going to have a little fun with MLB The Show and Jackie Robinson today with Dan Vaughn, the KC voice of the KC Monarchs, Jason and Jacek Bonneville of ATG Postwar. How you guys doing today?
Oh, doing great. How you guys doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good. This is all logistics. We're trying to, make this all work here. So we're gonna, just set the stage here of what's going on with this. You guys, we'll talk about a little bit about Jackie Robinson Day, and then we'll take the field. And I think what you may have to do in order to see what's going on is bring up the Twitch stream off the link because otherwise, I'm thinking that that's the only way you're going to be able to actually see the video. But then make sure you mute the sound on there. All right, guys. So it is Jackie Robinson Day. So what are the Monarchs doing? I love your Monarchs minutes. I mean, telling the stories. You guys have a great connection to that with the Rain Reborn. What's going on today with Monarchs and Jackie Robinson?
Well, the museum's been extremely busy there in Kansas City. And really for us as an organization, it's a year-long celebration. We're doing it all the time. We're always celebrating Jackie and the legacy and the Monarchs and the Negro Leagues. And of course, you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, Buck O'Neill's summer as well, as he's going to the Hall of Fame. So we're always doing that. But the museum had a fabulous program this morning with Bob Kendrick, and they always they've really turned it into a big deal. Of course, it is a big deal around Major League Baseball. I was at Globe Life last night, and people were already talking about Jackie Robinson Day today. And I thought it was very interesting. The Texas Rangers are going to do a bobblehead tonight of Charlie Pride, who was a Negro Leaguer as well. So there's all kinds of tie-ins with Jackie. Everybody's really into this whole thing, and I love the fact we're all into it.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, they started this several years back. It just seems to keep picking up steam with these recent announcements of Major League Baseball Reference. You got more and more people. There's more buzz, and that's the reason why I'm doing these. As I told you guys, I mean, I try to find the stories and the people that have been doing the work for many years and can give different context and different backgrounds to it. And it's just important to keep telling the stories because if they weren't being told all these years, who knows? Who knows, right? Yeah. So you guys at ATG, tell us about why post-war? Why did you guys find that the time period? Because I mean, to me, it's fascinating. Yes.
Always fascinated with that era of baseball. I mean, you had obviously the civil rights angle of it and the cultural changes that were beginning right around that period with everybody coming back from the war, and then the Jackie was signed and in Montreal and leading into that, and just combined with MLB finally
acknowledging that it's a major league.
It's a major league, and we thought it would be cool to combine the two leagues as one for our own entertainment on the video game. It was something we started back in
June of last
year and finished up the first edition around November, right around Thanksgiving, and we've just been building upon that ever since. 1,700 players we created.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 30 teams. We included
MLB,
Mexican League at that time, some Japanese guys, and we still keep expanding and building upon it, and other little side projects like the Barnstorm. Mm-hmm. We had that library of players, so
And now you're going to do 1927, which is very cool as well, because you're going to have Gehrig and Ruth and Lefty Grove and Satchel Paige and all these guys.
And Oscar Charleston. So same setup with both leagues combined in one. and
It's-
nobody's really doing it.
Yeah,
You know-
I love what you guys do, because you go back 25 years, people sit around a pub and have a cold one and debate. Well, could so and so beat so and so?
Mhm.
And you guys are actually helping answer some of those questions that we went
Yeah.
through back in the day. That modern technology has helped us answer some of that. And still, we're going to debate about it.
Right.
I love the fact you guys are doing that, because the age old. You remember the movie? I think it was Coming to America. There's the barbershop scene. They're debating.
Yeah,
Who was a
Joey
better
Lewis.
boxer, and Joey Lewis and Rocky Marciano and all
Yeah.
that. Well, those
Yeah.
debates now are happening on social with the games and what you guys are doing. So I love that. I think what you're doing is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it takes it to a new audience, which I think is very, very fun too.
A younger audience, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, a younger audience, and maybe this is one way. I'm real big about trying to get Major League Baseball back on track where they need to be, and maybe this is one way of doing it, by bringing back the history and tying into the modern, and maybe young kids will be energized to be a part of the great game again, because that's been waning over the years.
Yeah.
Because we have all these guys, and then the league's history has all these guys, and majority of them have never been in any of the video games.
Right.
It's like the company whose game we're using to build the roster on. We picked up one of the old versions, I think the 2010 version, and it had Buck Leonard was on there and Satch was on there, but that was it.
That was 2005 was the last time the game.
I'm talking about the show.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
okay, yeah.
right.
I'm
But
with you, yeah.
other than that, this lineage of games here has never had any other Negro League players.
Yeah, and part of that is they run into the licensing agreements, because MLB has that blanket thing with the alumni, and so it's kind of I don't know, not really an art piece, but we just kind of, I mean, we're not making any money off it. We made it for our enjoyment. If anybody, it's still pretty niche, even within the MLB The Show community. We only have like 300 downloads on the thing.
Yeah.
And
Oh my goodness
Some of
gracious!
the other roster projects on there, it's still fairly
probably
small.
because to set up the whole thing with the uniforms and all that takes a little work on you can get the roster, but it's just the default teams that are in Major League Baseball. You have to do some work with the uniforms, and they kind of limit within the PlayStation system on what you can share and all that. So
like we can upload the roster, but like if anyone else wanted to have, the Monarchs uniforms or Homestead and all those teams, they have to go find the logos in the logo vault on the game
and
then
build it
put
themselves.
them
Put it together,
themselves.
Yeah, and you guys said it's literally thousands of hours you guys have put into this over the last couple of years, right?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I was but it's sitting there and like I did a team today. I finished Harrisburg today for the 27 file, and I skipped work. I didn't go to work today, so I probably put 4 hours in on that, just kind of getting the basic first draft with the ratings done, and then we turn it over to him to do the faces on the guys.
So we're going to set the stage here, and then we're going to get out to the ballpark so people can see Jackie take the field here. But so we've taken a little bit of poetic license here. These two particular teams did not play each other barnstorming. Jackie, back in 1946, did play a series of 5 barnstorming games, maybe more, but 5 that we know of. They were against Chuck Dressen's All-Stars, several others. But at the same time, there was the Satchel Paige, Dizzy Dean tour going on. So in here, what you've done is taken the Bob Feller team, and we're going to play it against Jackie's team. And there's a little bit of mix to get the rosters filled out, but it's going to be fun. We'll let Dan take it, from here with the lineups, and we'll provide some color. We're going to get out to the ballpark, and we're at Crosley Field, correct?
Yep.
It is at Crosley, which is interesting. I saw, not to stretch this out, I saw a post today, one of the baseball history guys on Twitter, and it was like a death threat letter to Jackie, I think like in 51, that says basically do not step on the field at Crosley Field. So I was like, whoa, okay, well he's stepping on it today. So
what amazes me about that is the fact that was 1951. That was
you saw that too.
It didn't, just because 1947 the door came down, it didn't start. If anything, it just ratcheted up even more, because now it was there. Now the tension was even greater. So you're right on. So Crosley Field it is, guys.
All right, here we go. I'm going to try to get us switched over to, here we go. I don't know what the heck. Are we seeing it?
Yeah, your Twitch has it. Sure.
It is on there now?
I believe so.
All right, because I'm not seeing it. It
Oh,
was
man.
there, right? You know, I used to have this down like quite a bit, and now every time they
Oh,
come up with the
yeah, I
new
got
with a new update, I am like having to figure out what did I have to do now to make it work. So yeah, give me 1 second here.
I'll get it.
Well, Crosley Field, one of those legendary ballparks. But there's so many legendary ballparks. It's you know, they're all by the wayside now, but just one of those famous grounds that maybe we don't talk a lot about, but big part of Cincinnati's baseball fabric over the years, and just that part of the community. Ballparks were part of the community back then, and they still are
Yes.
to a degree. But back then, it really was in the cities, especially a medium-sized city like that. I even use Kansas City with Rupert or Muehlbach Stadium. Those were really
Yeah.
meeting places for community, and it wasn't just for ballparks. It was our ball players. It was for get-togethers, revivals, and you name it, carnivals. That's what they did. The ballpark was the place.
All right, here we are. I think we're at the ballpark now, fellas.
We are at the ballpark. Guys
All
ready to
right,
go?
there's Scooter Rizzuto warming up over there with Mickey Vernon on the sideline.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rizzuto.
blows me away. So let's do the starting lineups, Dan, because this is kind of fun. I'm going to pause it here for a second, because I don't remember where in the video that this is going to
Well, let's
show up. They post them,
Yeah, well-
but if you want to run through the
we'll run through it. Let's
starting
go.
lineup.
Let's go through the Jackie Robinson Club first. This is what I've got, and Jackie Robinson will lead off. He's the shortstop, batting second. Ray Dandridge, he'll be over at third base. Larry Doby, the second to crash the barrier, is going to bat third. He'll be at second base. Buck Leonard, another legend, batting cleanup. He'll be at first base. Ted Strong, the versatile athletic Ted Strong, will be in left field. Roy Campanella, one of the great catchers of all time, batting sixth. Buddy Armour will be in right field. And then batting eighth, there'll be Marv Rackley in center. And then the number 9 spot, Dave Barnhill, will be in that spot for Jackie's Ball Club. The fellers, Phil Rizzuto, we just saw Phil warming up at short. Mickey Vernon's at first, batting second. Stan the Man, got a chance to see him at the All-Star game a few years ago before he passed. He'll be in left field for those represent the Cardinals. Charlie Keller in center, batting cleanup. Ken Keltner over at third base, batting fifth. Jeff Heath is in right. He batted sixth. Jim Hegan is catching for Feller's bunch. And then Johnny Berardino. The talk about versatile guys. You got a guy in one roster that can play in the NBA and one that can act in Hollywood. So you've got both going. And that's your card.
Wow.
And then again, Bob Feller in that 9 spot. So there we go, guys.
You know what? The way you just laid that out, I mean, that's what I think is the beauty of all of these. Is these guys were all human beings. They were athletes, yes, but they have got stories. Every single one of these guys have got some stories. You mentioned Ted Strong. He played for the Harlem Globetrotters, and Johnny Berardino. He's the only baseball player, Major League Baseball player, who has a star on the Walk of Fame. He had an acting career.
He's the only player playing in this game today that appeared on an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Crazy was on General Hospital. I mean, I had no idea. Oh my
1992, he
goodness
played a doctor on Fresh Prince. That's
Unbelievable.
something.
That is
Bringing it all
awesome.
together.
All right, man. So here we are. Jackie stepping to the plate. Let's take it away.
Jackie Robinson leading off. Of course, we're celebrating Jackie Robinson Day. Jackie, I'm talking about athletic type of guy. That's that kind of guy. We missed the first one, but it's a 1-1 count. Phil Rizzuto. Look at that classic line from Phil, guys. Look at that.
They did a great job, didn't they? They
Yeah.
modeled his wind-up pretty close to what it looked like. Yeah.
Swinging away for Jackie there. And yeah, I love those old windmill, old school windups. It's kind of takes you back to the Sandlot, doesn't it? Your old
It sure
Sandlot
does.
days.
Look at the graphics here. I mean, Crosley Field, I mean, it's just amazing to me, the work that they do to model some of these stadiums, and the players, not all the players are modeled, but a number of they're putting more and more of the greats in the game, I think now.
54-degree day, they just told us, from press row here in a blue sky. There's a bounce toward the left side, and that'll be a nice play deep in the hole. Throw to first, and boy, Jackie, you see that football speed, guys. He legs it out, and that's probably going to be an infield single there, don't you think?
Yeah, it looks like it. Look at that. They got his max speed, 19.6 miles per hour. That's wild.
Now let's check the replay, and he's in there. We can't go to New York on that one because he's in there, folks. Jackie is aboard with the single. I don't know how if you guys watched this before. I took the liberty of not because I wanted to.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
I wanted to be surprised, so I can't tell you anything more than what's going on. I wanted to. I watched the warm-ups, but I didn't want to get too far ahead as Ray Dandridge steps in. He's from that right side. Little tapper down the first base line. Good play for Rizzuto. He spins. Nice little athletic throw there. Gets him by stride. Nice spin there. It's a tough one coming off the mound there as Feller makes the play. I think I said Rizzuto. Feller makes the play there.
Yeah, threw inside the bag to not hit the runner. That was a pretty cool little play he just made. Yeah.
There's your lineup card on the screen for you folks there. You want to write that down? Jackie's on at second base now, so he's in scoring position. That'll work like it is a sacrifice to win 3 bases. Little swinging sacrifice is Larry Doby, the legendary Larry Doby from that left side. Second baseman. Looks like a soft breaking ball there for a called strike. Larry, part of the 1947 Cleveland Indians. And, of course, 1948, he and Satchel Paige became the first two Negro League players to win a World Series with the Cleveland Indians. Swinging a pop out toward right center field. That's going to be a play. Yep, it is right there. Tagging Jackie made. No, he was not going to challenge. I thought he might, but he did not. So fly to right center field. Thought he might get a shot there, but he holds right there. So out number 2.
Is Buck Leonard modeled, Jason? Jake?
No, he's not modeled. No.
That stance that he's got, the way he's holding the bat, looks different than some of the others. With his hands down low.
Yeah, they might. I'm not sure what stance that is going to be in their preset.
Buck slaps at the first, and in the inning, as Leonard will be retired by first baseman there.
They have a lot of generic stances amongst all of the active players, and then like a select handful of all the legends that are actually in the game, and then
some from the past.
So, yeah,
and you can make small adjustments to them within it.
Yeah, I love that you could do that. That's really cool to be able to do that, to adjust them. And I used to once in a while design rosters like that in the video games, and
there you go.
Try to make me look better, put my name in there and hook me up, as Dave Barnhill takes the mound for Jackie's bunch. He'll be facing Phil Rizzuto to lead things off, and Rizzuto takes the first one away. How long does it take to put these these graphic things together, guys? I think this is a long undertaking.
Yeah, it took us, like I said, the first big June till around Thanksgiving, the first release we did. Then we've done monthly updates since then.
The grazing right there, so Rizzuto is aboard with the hit by pitch.
Holy cow.
So, yeah. And I know him from then, but that's what I love about taking me back to actually watching him play, because I know him from his late play-by-play days as a youngster there. As Mickey Vernon will step in. Barnhill was pitcher for the New York Cubans from 1937 to 1949, minor leaguer from 49 to 53, and the American Association, which is the old American Association, the Florida International League. Those two leagues were very high quality back in those days.
Sure were.
My screen went black, but I'm kind of winging it here.
The screen went black? Oh, no.
Yeah, we're black. That's all right.
It's all right. Well, but Barnhill, he was one of those guys that, not unlike a lot of guys at that time, they were versatile players. Could pitch, could hit. They could, they had to play every day. They didn't just pitch. There's a base hit to left. I lost it for a moment. I believe that Mickey Vernon's base hit, I do believe. First and second.
Yeah, left field. And Barnhill played with Minneapolis with Dandridge and Mays, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great baseball community in Minneapolis. Of course, the Twins there now, but the legendary The Millers and the Saints had a huge rivalry, crosstown rivalry back in the day. Of course, St. Paul Saints still play. Yeah, it's still dark there, but
what's going on here?
There we go. Well, there we go. Yeah, we're back now. There's the lineup card for you folks. The pub for All-Stars there. They're running first and second.
Not sure why it's doing that.
There we go. Drop in there. I do believe it's Stan Musial spot, but we may have missed his at bat. What Stan Musial, one of those guys too that the name Stan the Man.
Yeah, we're going off this 1940s satellite technology.
Apparently, right? I mean, I don't understand. It was running fine, and now it's not. It's gone.
It's all right.
Again.
No, it's all good. Hey, it's what we do when you're live. Like yesterday, I had to kill 5 minutes for my guest to show up, so it's all good. Man. Almost broke out in song. What's that?
Are you in Kansas City right now?
No, I'm in Dallas.
Gotcha.
Dallas.
Do you call the games from?
No, I do from Kansas City.
You do it from Kansas City?
Yes.
That's a nice ballpark there.
It is. Well, it looks like I don't know what, I can't tell you what you guys, you saw the video.
We got Ted Strong. You guys are seeing him now?
Yeah, we got Ted Strong coming.
All right.
But we know that no one scored there, so it wasn't with Ted Strong. Interesting character here, gentlemen. This is a guy I unearthed last summer on the Monarchs broadcast where I just did a search on Ted Strong, and I unearthed this whole treasure trove of this guy. This guy deserves a movie of some sort. As Strong takes the first one away. I mean, he was a great ball player. In the off seasons, he would globetrot with the Globetrotters and had a late cup of coffee in what was the NBA at the time with the Chicago Studebakers. But this is the guy that was, the dual athletes, the Bo Jackson types, way ahead of the time. Way ahead of the time.
Amazing, right? I mean, there were many. Bob Kendrick has told this many times about the number of these players who probably could have played any professional sport they wanted to, but because baseball at the time was the only one that could really provide a way to make a living, most of them they came through the Negro Leagues. But you're right. I mean, these guys had some talent. They could have played NBA. They could have played NFL, but here we were until 1947.
One down there is Strong flies out to right. Roy Campanella, who is in his time is as good of a guy behind the was. And there's nobody better in that stretch, and with his Dodger days, and of course those juggernaut Dodgers that Jackie would become a part of. And
down into the corner.
There we go. Yeah. Campy collects MVP trophy.
There we go. That's going to bounce around the corner. You guys are a little ahead of me, but bouncing in for a stand-up. Sliding head first double. The dust come up there. Talk about the graphics there, huh? I mean, that's
awesome,
right there.
Yeah. So fun. So fun.
We've got our first extra base into the ball game. That's down the corner. And Crosley, that little. I love the nip and tucks in these old ballparks, these nooks and crannies, and if you can, they can really create trouble for a team that doesn't know the nooks, or a guy that doesn't know the nooks and crannies. So runner at second.
And that scoreboard's in play in left center. You have to
right.
Over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Is I love those. I love it. We in Kansas City at Legends Field, we've got some nooks and crannies too, and you got to really know what you're doing. That'll move the runner to third. That's going to roll him through for a base hit. How about that? Chance for a run, but they're going to hold him at third. So corners now, and Jackie's bunch get a little something going here in the second inning. His armor grounds one through the 3-4 hole, and now first and third. That just got on by. Yeah, dive, nice effort, but they did do it. Go for it. Okay, he did come on. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I'm a little behind you guys. I think I'm about 5 seconds behind you guys. Kevin did come in. So there we go. I got to be paying attention. See, I told you I didn't watch this before. Let's watch the ground. I just look at the lineups there. So it's an RBI for Bobby, and then Marv Rackley will step in and bounces in. So it's 1-0. So the Jackie's All-Stars take the early lead here in the second.
Rackley, 65 stolen bases with Montreal in 40.
Yeah, they were Montreal teammates with the AAA club in the International League back at the time.
Some talent on that roster.
And he just stole one right there at second. Yeah, buddy, just pop-up slide. Even that looks great.
Cleveland
That's
Buckeyes.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I'm at
So
second now.
I think most people probably don't even realize this, but this tour, and again, it wasn't against the Bob Beller, all-star team, but the games that Jackie's team played, he took several of the white ball players from his Montreal Royals team on this tour in October into November of 1946. So that's why Marv Rackley is a white ball player. Montreal playing with Jackie. Al Campanis is on his team. Was there any more, Jason, or is it only two?
There was a pitcher. I don't think he made the cut on this. We limited the 26 guys. I think one of the Jackie's Barnstorm team was the first integrated team to play at Comiskey.
That's right.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
And I think that's correct. So Jackie will, Dave Barnhill will bat here. Talked about him a moment ago on the hill, but versatile guys, of course, and that was the thing. I mean, what you got to remember back, and what fans will remember is that, granted, pitchers batting in the National League until this year, but in the Negro Leagues and the Barnstorming, you didn't have huge rosters or farm systems, and you needed guys to be able to contribute. If they weren't starting that day, they weren't pitching, they needed to contribute somehow. And Satchel Paige was as good of a hitter sometimes as he was a pitcher.
That's right.
Just the travel expenses and the chore of traveling, yeah.
And they weren't going with a 5-man staff and a 11-man bullpen either. It was a little different back in those days. 1-0. Barnhill will swing and wave at that one. Yeah, Barnhill was I grew up in North Carolina with so many of these young players in the Negro Leagues coming from the South, and really made the jump to the Negro Leagues in the northern climes, the northern cities, the Chicagos and the Pittsburghs and the Philadelphias, places like that.
All part of that great migration when they came up from the South, right?
That's right. So bottom 2, 1-0, and I believe we were at Ken Keltner, because I missed this. This is when the screen went black earlier. So Keltner did, I don't know what Stan Musial did. His final, he was out. Must have been a double play, maybe. I don't know what happened, but Charlie Keller. I'm sorry, Keller must have done double play, because I've got Keltner leading off. When the screen went blank earlier, folks, I kind of lost these two.
Yeah, right.
So I know we're at Ken Keltner now, third baseman. So it's Keltner, Heath, and Higgin here. That's 6, 7, and 8. And a 1-0 ball game in the second.
Keltner was a heck of a ball player. So good that they considered trading Ted Williams for him. That's how much hype this guy had when he was a youngster.
Yes.
Didn't quite pan out the same way in their careers, though.
Gets a free pass right there. He was also, if memory serves, pretty good defensively. I mean, he was one of those guys that.
He was a good player, yeah.
Just defensively, that classic hot corner stopper down there. He's at first base. It's a free pass, and Jeff Heath will step in from the left side. And
these are two good teams playing here. I mean, you've got a number of Hall of Famers on both teams, but there's some darn good players that are playing in the rest of this roster. Jeff Heath, Keltner, Charlie Keller, those are good ball. Mickey Vernon, they're good ball players.
He's Canadian Hall of Famer.
Yes, Canadian Hall of Famer, one of those Canadian greats. Led the league in triples a couple of times. This is a guy that swinging a wave there. When he puts it in play, a single could be a double, or a double could be a triple. As Barnhill gets a swing and a wave there. That's on that bad boy, huh?
He's looking jacked.
Yeah. That's a little spin, that little breaker there. So there's one down here. 1-0. Oh. It's amazing, these graphics. I did a video story when I was in the late 80s, and there was nothing like this. I can say this is great.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah, I had Charlie Brothers mine who played sports games in the dorm. They're playing the old Segas and Techno Bowls and all that. This is amazing. The ground balls could be 2, 6-4, hurry, and got him. Double play. Turn him and burn him. Double play right there.
Look at that replay at second base. Look at that takeout slide. Oh, Dobie does a somersault. Wow.
Yeah, Dobie does. As Cutler goes in there high. In this day and age, they'd call to New York and say, sorry, folks, that's not a play. But
that just happened, didn't it?
It just happened. That's right. It happened. I was at the game the other night. So, yeah, we're going to the top of the third inning. It's 1-0. Lucky Robinson All-Stars. Got his back to Jackie again. Jackie reached on a single his first time. Talking about Jackie before we went on the air as he swings and taps one. Drop third strike, throw to first, got him. We were talking about Jackie, that busy 1947 season, but you're taking back 2 years prior to 1945. We'll talk about it next time he comes up. But he was in a tryout in Fenway Park April 12th of 1945. So one down here in Ray Dandridge.
April, a busy month for Jackie in prior years.
Sure it was. Dandridge, nickname Hooks and Squat. That was his nickname right there.
Well, I don't know. I
don't know if you'd call him either one, but I guess you would.
We've seen him listed as low as 5'5".
Yeah, not a giant, no stretch, but
he got that. There you go.
Yeah, he got one through. Yeah, 5-6 hole. That's a base hit.
While building this thing, we noticed a lot of short third basemen that would probably be moved to second base in today's game, and a lot of guys under 5'9" playing third.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just we just have better training, but I mean, I look at guys that I've known that their dad played, for example, in the NFL or something, and they were linemen, and they're 6'1" or whatever. And now, my brother has a kid that's playing for the Falcons at 6'7". It's just a different day now. Right? Yeah, swinging a wave and a throw to second, and I was screen blank for a moment there, so I kind of missed that. Apologize there. Oh, good.
Here's Berardino.
Yeah, there we go. We love this stat. This is cool, folks. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and go look it up. We'll go to Hollywood, look it up, get a map. I'm going to do that next time in LA.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
40-year acting career, General Hospital, all kinds of things. I mean, he's an interesting story. And so many of these guys like this.
Yes. Well, and I think a lot of it's because if you think back, even the great Yankees, they had to have second jobs and they had to have other careers.
Yeah.
And the Negro Leaguers were able to barnstorm, and some of the Bob Feller types could barnstorm. But I remember I was talking to Billy Martin Jr., and he was talking to me recently about how his father, Billy Sr., always had second jobs in the offseason, always were doing something else. Whether it be, we had all those great Yankees in the 50s and 60s all had something else. They weren't just kicking it on the islands with the Mai Tai. They were actually out having to have a second job.
And we're talking major leaguers. We're not talking that's kind of the case with minor leaguers these days.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking these are major league players, very good major league players that had second jobs in the offseason.
And what's crazy, too, is a swing and a wave there. And Barnhill seems to be dealing right here with a swing and a wave. But the Negro Leaguers, because of the barnstorming and the Latin American lifestyle, they actually made as much, if not more money in the wintertime as they did playing stateside. And, it was a money maker for these guys who played Mexico and Cuba and had that second job of winter baseball player. That was a real big lifestyle for the Negro Leaguers, a money maker for them in that time.
Yeah, no off season.
No off season.
No off season.
And granted, today guys do play, some play winter league, usually the younger players though.
Yeah.
We're talking the stars of the game here. We're playing literally 12 months out of the year.
Right, exactly. We've got Bob Feller there at the plate. I remember him back in the day, my early years in the minors, he swings and waves, but he would do these tours in the minor leagues. He would go to almost every minor league park. If they would have him, he would come out. He was one of those guys that was always accommodating, would oftentimes go to these minor league parks in the 80s and 90s for free. He would just show up and sign pictures. He loved to be an ambassador for baseball, and I saw him in several different places over the years. A little bunt to third, and nice play coming in. And
look at Rizzuto. Frustration.
Rizzuto feels like he got robbed. He did get robbed. Highway robbery, Rizzuto. You've been held up, sir.
I love it.
Yeah, he's not happy.
Such
back
a
to
good
Bob,
job.
though. Back to Bob. He was one of those guys, and I remember my early years, every summer I would see him doing the MILB tour, going out and seeing the fans, even many moons after being retired.
Yeah, he was highly visible. I mean, even up to his death.
One of the funniest Bob Feller quotes I ever saw. Still makes me laugh out loud when I think about it. When he was like in his 70s, and he said, "You know, even at my age now, I could probably still get it up into the 80s if I
Right.
wanted to.
Right.
But I want to be able to comb my hair." I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a plus. Be able to comb your hair. I know if I swung, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed for a day. So it's the same
The
thing.
left fielder.
Feller walks
Strong.
the. We're in the batting order with Buck Leonard.
Buck Leonard.
Buck Leonard. You know, it's Ted Strong, as I mentioned earlier. I talked about him earlier, but yeah.
Did Strong start focusing on the basketball career post 1948?
Yeah, it was his winter's job, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I stumbled across that in an article, one of the Chicago papers, I believe, and that's how I was doing it was interesting. I did do a segment on the Monarchs called Monarchs 101. I also do one Monarchs flashback, and I go to that day of history, and I found that Ted Strong had a big day against the American Giants. And I thought, well, let me find out more about Ted Strong. And I went and pulled up the file from the museum, and I realized he played for the Globetrotters. And I went down another whole little rabbit hole, and he was really, I mean, he was a year-round athlete in two different sports. And then very late in his career, as the then NBA started to have black players, he was one of those first guys to get a chance to play in the NBA as a black player. And so that was tail end of his career. But yeah, he was a solid stretch there. Every winter he was globetrotting with the Globetrotters.
I think his baseball stats tail off at 48. There's nothing after that. No winter league or minor league stuff listed.
Yep. Right.
One of the things when you said rabbit hole, it just, you know, you guys know, every day I try to put out something on somebody or some team or something, right? And I'll come across them, and it's exactly that way. You start digging, and you find this, and it's like pulling the thread, and pretty soon, you know, a guy who has literally nothing showing maybe on Baseball Reference statistics-wise or very, very little, turns into this incredible story of what his life was like. It's some fun stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those. And I'll just pull one, or I'll see a guy's name, and then I'll do a little research, and it's been that way. At every turn, like I told you on your show, is where Campanella steps in. 1-0. The Jackie Robinson All-Stars leading the Bob Feller crew, but I just would always find, and Strong was one of the first ones I remember last summer, because he had this huge monster game against the American Giants, I believe, and I was just like, oh, this guy, I never heard of this guy. Then I started I do more research. I'm going, I've never heard of this guy. How come there's been no movie about this guy? How come there's been no, where's the big best-selling novel about a guy from that time? I mean,
there's a biography on it.
I'm sure there is, and I just didn't even, I had no idea. It's as I'm reading the Oscar Charleston book, and what eye opener that is. But you learn these things, and it's just such a cool deal. It's
unbelievable stuff. Yes.
Yeah, unbelievable. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the fourth.
I need to check out an Oscar book. He'd scrap a little bit, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. There's some really good stories about them driving. There's another double play. 4-6. That's about as easy as it comes right there. That's tailor made, right? Boy, look at the ballpark today. 54 degrees at the yard, and
Dan,
nice.
What's incredible about these? They pan around the ballpark, but some of the people the detail even on the fans is incredible. If you start.
See, I love this time, and I like to kind of dress up for the games. I would have loved these years because I would have been wearing the suit to the stadium and the fedora. I look like J.L. Wilkinson himself. If he was the founder of the Monarchs.
Reading the accounts on Jackie Robinson's debut day today, we talked about this before we started. The 33,000 people that could have fit into Ebbets Field had about 26,000. There might have been some mitigating circumstances with the smallpox outbreak or whatever was going on, but the people who came, it was probably a 60-40 split. African Americans came out to see Jackie, and everybody was there dressed in their best. I mean, it was like an event, and it's what many of the All-Star East-West All-Star Classics were like. I mean, it was an event and a big deal, and you represented and you wanted to show your support in the best way you can. I just think it was a great thing.
Well, the Royals do the dress to the nines thing still, don't they? Isn't there something with that?
I don't know. I feel like, well, it's kind of become that, those traditions to kind of bring back that stuff. I'd love to see period dressing. It'd be great. Everybody,
right?
I'd love that. It'd be really cool. We talked about this, I believe, Phil, on your show, that these. I'm a little about. Yeah, we got it. We want to hop back to the mound. Sorry about that. I'm a little behind. I hear you guys oohing on. I'm going to look up for a great play. Then I realize it's already happening. But let's just use the Kansas City Monarchs as an example. 1925, let's say, and they were going to play in Sioux Falls or Sioux City. That was a big deal, even for the white fans, for everybody there, because entertainment was coming to your town, and you only had read about these folks. You didn't get big time baseball. There's a shout out to it, right? Nice checking me down there, no problem there. I'm right there on the jog, and there's out number 3. But you would see these barnstorming teams, the House of Davids and the Monarchs, would roll through, and the entire town came out. They would dress the nines. They were their Sunday best because it was an event. It was a civic event, and it was that kind of energy. Because these folks. Today we can get in the car and just drive anywhere, but this is interstate system being built. Before that, this is hard to get around, and folks were excited when the Monarchs came to town, or the Chicago American Giants, or the St. Louis Stars, or whoever. When a Negro League team came to town, it didn't matter, white, black, everybody was out.
They had that Savannah Bananas team was at Rickwood. We're in Alabama. They were at Rickwood, I believe, last week.
Sure.
I think you guys are going to get them, aren't you?
We're getting, Savannah Bananas are coming to Kansas City May 6th and 7th at Legends Field. A week before we open up. There's a ground ball to second. No trouble there to
number 50.
Retire Berdino, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the House of David because we also have them represented on the Postwar.
That is a really cool story that's not been told enough either. And the relationship they had with, and I'll just use the Monarchs example, and then if you folks are watching, wonder what we're talking about, the House of David. The House of David was a religious sect out of Benton Harbor, Michigan. These guys, as a ground ball short, there should be a routine play for out number 2. They were wearing long beards and long hair back in the 1920s and 30s when that wasn't vogue. That was not the style. We're not talking 1860 with long beards and Civil War. We're talking 1920s and 30s, and these guys stood out. And they were definitely an oddity, but they were great baseball players. And they would tour with the Monarchs and other Negro League teams. The Monarchs then went on several late tours in 1938 and 39. They would go out to the West Coast. They would go up into Canada. They would spend months on the road playing a series of games against the Monarchs. They became really friendly rivals. Barnhill's first offering there.
They've had a handful of Major League guys play for them, too. I think Pete Alexander played with them real quick, and Page is also noted to have played.
Yeah, Page was on loan for them, and there's a story out there about Satchel Paige. It's part urban legend, part fact. We believe Satchel actually just didn't shave for a while, but there's also a story that Satchel got a hook-on beard and kind of tried to fit in. But there's some debate about the urban legend. He did play the House of Davids, and I believe in that Denver tournament. Get out to the left. That's pretty well hit. Just over the head of Strong. He couldn't get there. Into second base. Stand-up double right there. Threat for the Bob Feller boys. 10-game inning streak there for Ken Keltner.
Nice.
Look at that. Well, you got that one. He just missed getting out of the yard. So a chance of tie. It's 1-0. We're the 5th.
Speaking of radio broadcasts and PA announcers, the one of the Yankee, it is far, it is deep, it is gone. No, it's not. Was just another classic call.
He was so excited.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Well, we've all been there. If you're in the broadcast booth, you've done that a number of times. You get sometimes the sound, and especially if you see the club play a lot, there's a certain sound of the game you hear.
I bet.
And we've all been duped to that before, and it sounds well, it sounds like it should be out of here, but it's not even close. You know, it's one of those kind of deals. We've all been there, man. I sympathize with the Battery's Jim Keegan.
Fella brought all his catchers on this tour.
Yeah, he did. He
all Cleveland catchers.
Yeah, Jim was not noted as a huge hitter, but he was definitely a defensive stalwart, and all-star for his defensive work.
Bob hooking him up with that Barnstorm check.
He was a 40-year
101
career of coaching and playing baseball. Did Jim? He was one of those guys. I remember his name bouncing around in my early years as a throwing instructor.
Hey, you know what I found interesting about the whole aspect of barnstorming, and we've talked about it here with that ability to make some extra money and tour around, take baseball to different parts of the country, but it's interesting how it evolved as well. You know, we're talking 1940s now. There's more transportation. You've got cars, buses, trains, a lot more access to moving around. But earlier barnstorming was a different feel to it as well. I mean, they didn't have that same type of so a lot of times when the season was over, they'd be heading back to California on the train from Philadelphia or wherever they were playing, and they would just get together a bunch of guys and play at whatever stops along the way. So it's just historically, I just find all that stuff so interesting, and when you look at the context, you got to put yourself back in that time period.
Sure. It's such a different time, and it's not been that long ago, but so much has changed since then. You know, and a lot of really, just technology-wise. I mean, what we're talking about here, able to recreate a game like this.
Yeah, crazy.
Jackie's back up for the third time. Jackie Robinson. I wanted to get to this story real quick where Jackie gets played here, guys. As I mentioned it to you, April 12th, 1945. Jackie's in the midst of spring training with the Monarchs. He was their prize rookie recruit. He swings in waves, but Jackie and a couple of other players go to Fenway Park, and they wind up trying out for the Boston Red Sox. And it's a really great story. I encourage you to do a little more research on that. But Jackie took a break. It also coincided with the same week that President Roosevelt's funeral was going on. So there was a bit of a delay then, and Jackie rejoins his teammates on a barnstorming spring training tour. But he did have a tryout with the Red Sox prior. Of course, scouts were everywhere. They're going to hit out toward left. That's pretty well it. Still going. That's over the head and off the wall out there. That should be is that a hard hit double or hard hit single? That's going to be a hard hit single. That should have been two.
Dandridge put a charge into that.
Yeah, Dandridge a double, yeah.
Yeah, he got the double.
Yeah, he got a double. Again, we're a little behind here, a little flip of the screen. Yeah. But that was solid shillelagh up the wall.
I think what you're talking about, that 1945, I think Dave Barnhill was another one of those guys who was invited, wasn't he? I think with Jackie on that.
You know, tryout. I can tell you that I got that story somewhere around here in my notes, but I do know there was a Jackie. It was Sam Jethro and Marvin Williams were both invited.
Ah, yes, okay.
And and Joe Cronin, the manager of the Red Sox, was there, and so were the Red Sox scouts. And there's an interesting storyline. There's a city councilman there in Boston that basically told the Red Sox, if you don't have a tryout for black players, we're going to get an ordinance passed where you can't play games on Sunday. Well, Sunday was a huge crowd for them. That's a big crowd for anybody in the big leagues back in the 1940s. Sunday weekend games, like heck, now the weekend games are big draws, right? So they threatened that. There's also a pioneer with the Pittsburgh Press, one of the black writers for the paper there that was also pushing this. And this was an ongoing scene, and I've talked about this. The door was starting to be knocked on in 1942 with the fact that World War II started. The door was being knocked on, and as we go every year forward, now by 1945, it's a real thought about getting black players in the big leagues. 4-3 put out. I mean, we're in the 1945, and by April that year, it wasn't if, it was when. And I think that's where we're at now. And then Jackie doesn't become a Red Sox, but he does get that opportunity, and he did. I had to have left a lasting impression on him.
Well, when you think of all the what ifs and what could have been, when you think of, Clemente was originally a Dodger, and they tried to stash him up in Montreal. He got claimed in the Rule 5 by the Pirates. Willie Mays was being scouted by the Red Sox. Instead, he ends up signing with the Giants. I mean, what kind of changes historically that some of these guys' impacts could have had.
Yeah, no doubt. I've lost my video. Give me just a second there.
Looking good, Dan.
Hey, you like being the official shot, the official. Get it to come up again there. There we go. 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 Sorry about that. I'm wearing multiple outfits today.
You got the Monarchs on today.
Yeah, I got 19. This is our throwback from last year. I'll stand up again. It's this was based on the 1945 jersey. It's not the exact one, but this is what we wear on Sundays in our alternate jersey last year. We're gonna have a new one this year, but there's so many possibilities. Jersey. This is what Jackie would have worn in that 1945 season, and he didn't wear number 42 as a Monarch. Do you guys know that?
Oh, we know.
I guess I should throw it out there. You guys watching out there, do you know that? I know you guys know.
Wow. Screen there. Yeah, we went back. I switched over to look at my at your jersey, and it ended up. So that's what's doing it. It's when I change what I'm looking at on my end, and it ends up jacking with the feed. I don't understand why it would. But hang on, let me get it back here.
I'll go back to a little more of that story. I pulled some notes up here. That story about April 12th, 1945, the scheduled tryout, and just some of the storyline behind it. But President Roosevelt died as well that very same day, and so you've got that going on. But there was actually one of the papers, I believe it was in Pittsburgh, that had a little box in the corner, Roosevelt's funeral, and then this tryout for the Negro players in Boston, and there was some of that, so it was still made the papers despite it. But it was a real, we're not talking now where you flip on your news 24/7. This was a time where the nation was, they got their news via newspapers, so it was pretty big to have that tryout mentioned in the same vein as Roosevelt's funeral. If you know your history, in 1945, U.S. was still another few months before Japan would be defeated, so you're still in that tail end of World War II. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. I encourage you to dig more into it, just the whole story of that 19. And I've talked a little bit about it. I can give you a link at some point for what
I didn't know it was the same day as Roosevelt's funeral.
Yeah, that's some discussion there. But Jackie was very heralded as a rookie. There we go. I've got something else on the screen. Jackie. There we go. We're back. 3-0. So we had something big happen. Let's just tell you. Do you guys know what happened?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll just make it up and say there's a long try to left center field. It's off the wall. It's for 2 runs. How about that?
Yeah. We got Ralph Branca in now.
How's that? Ralph? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ralph Branca.
Feller's out.
Yeah, Feller is the
Hawk.
The Hawk.
They
12 years.
They hit around Branca, looks like.
Brooklyn Dodgers 44-53. Tigers, Yankees. What do you guys know this? And if you're you folks watching this, what is Branca well known for besides being a solid pitcher? He was also sort of a walk-off home run to Bobby Thompson of the New York Giants. Game winning was known as the shot around the world.
Right?
Yeah, how about that? You don't really think about it. You just watch that highlight video, but you don't really think about Ralphie and the guy as a base hit there. And Barnhill is still toiling for the Jackie Robinson All-Stars. Something tells me these guys back then could have probably pitched back-to-back days.
Probably, right? Yeah. That's the only thing about this, I think, with the show is you've got the velocities. I don't know, Feller, I think, was probably humping it up there in the mid-90s at least. Could probably bring it harder if he wanted to, but it's kind of hard to get a gauge on these because I'm seeing like, okay, here we are in the 6th. Barnhill's getting it up there at like 96. Maybe.
That's one of the things we really couldn't control on that. But as far as
it's based on modern, right?
Yeah, as far as manager hook and pitch count, we could control that where he's going to let him go deep. Some of our stuff, they'll let these guys go 120, 130 pitches. We get, even in our sims, there's a lot more complete games. Mm-hmm. Not at the level that it actually was, but close enough in the era where it's close to that style. Yeah. So they'll leave a guy out there.
They do a great job, I have to say, of switching between, just like you would in a regular broadcast. There was Mickey Vernon swinging the bat on deck. They'll pan to the dugout. They pan to, guys in the field, wiping sweat. I mean, they do a great job to make it look like a real television broadcast. It's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of youngsters are out there doing their best play-by-play over this too. Just
it's
fun
I'm
to
sure.
Practice. Yeah.
So the Feller All-Stars have been held in check here by Barnhill.
3-0. Yeah, Barnhill, the New York Cubans, one of the more historic names in the Negro Leagues, 1935 to 1950. But the name Cubans was very popular amongst Negro League teams.
Yes.
And you had Cubans just about everywhere. Not everywhere. I mean, but the teams, there was New York, there was different towns had their own version.
Yeah. On the 27 file we're working on, there's two teams called Cuban Stars.
Yes, Cuban Stars.
Which now they designated East and West. I think back then it was just both Cuban Stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
They sit the center field, so now there's something going on here. First and second, and he's run scores. So Browning second, coming all the way around. The throw got back behind the plate. The Barnhill backs it up. So now it's 3-1. Barnhill may have in the line here. What do you think?
Who's the managers? Do you guys get to pick that, or is it just a
No,
random
you can't.
dude?
It's still the default staff for the major league team that we had to overwrite. So you can't really change that.
Stand a man up in a big spot here.
They do have a coaching menu, though. You can go in and you can fire your staff and rehire guys. But one thing that we would love to see them eventually add is the ability to create custom managers and coaches. And we just go through, and that's another step that would be wonderful.
Ooh, Musial.
There we go. He's splitting out here to go roll.
You were right, Dan. You were right, Dan. They probably should have hooked Barnhill one batter sooner.
And it's tied right there. It's a bases clearing double. Barnhill and the All-Stars of Jackie Robinson are 3-3 even with Stan Musial's double right there. Saw Stan in the All-Star game. That was 2007 in St. Louis. He came out in a huge crowd there at Busch Stadium. And boy, the Cardinal faithful just love this guy. And one of the great ambassadors for St. Louis, for the Cardinals, for baseball over the years.
So Johnny Wright up in the pen with Roy Partlow. Johnny Wright was Jackie Robinson. He's got a Jackie Robinson tie. With Montreal, they both were teammates on the Royals back in '46, right?
There's a strikeout right there. See you later. Barnhill battles back to get the. Look at this. Look at the back up here. Keller just did. Keller's fooled badly though. Look at him kind of knee-buckle a little bit, kind of little hitch. Looks like an offensive lineman got flinched right there.
Right?
False start and went away. 3-3 ball game with 6.
It's in Barnhill.
Yeah, Barnhill's sticking with it, and Ken Keltner is the batter here. There's second. Base hit would give Feller's boys a lead.
Get Feller off the hook. He stood to be the losing pitcher here. Right?
Down back. Yeah. He's definitely sitting in the
Is Musial another guy that is a legend in here?
Yes.
His batting stance looked like they did a little better job of trying to
he's
model
actually
it.
on the game.
Yeah, all the legends that are actually on the game, San Diego studio, they went and they got the batting stances and windups as close as possible to what they actually were. Same goes for the those guys, the faces on those guys too.
Okay.
Which they just, I believe they do it for, I think, the prospects that they can't, the actual current prospects they can't get to doing the face scans for. They have their art team hand draw the faces.
An intentional walk there. How about that?
Yeah, Barnhill had a 13 strikeout against the Elite Giants in 1942, I believe. I'm sorry, 1941. So he was a strikeout guy. Looking at his numbers over the years, but he was one of those guys. So getting that strikeout a moment ago is not it kind of was where he A lot of times guys will buckle down. The strikeout turns their fortunes.
Oh, that's checked. Keegan.
Strong, just watch that one.
See you later. That is a 3-run home run. And I was just talking about the strikeout turning things around. A home run will turn things around as well. And Bonneville seems to go to 6-3.
That's the man.
Yeah. What were we talking about earlier? Did we say something about he could be the light hitter? I thought we said
Yeah, he crushes this one. Look at this.
Who said that? Who was that? I didn't. Who's biographical information that said that?
That rolled into the bar across the street.
Well, boy, Barnhill was cruising with the shutout and a 3-0 lead, and all of a sudden it's 6-3.
Aaron Boone.
That's Aaron Boone. What's he doing here?
That will end the day for Barnhill. So the bullpen summoned. We just saw them up and throwing a moment ago for Jackie Robinson's All-Stars. Let's see who they're at 2 throwing. Let's see who they're going to bring in. You guys are maybe ahead of me here, but it's going to be Johnny Wright. Johnny Wright, a right-hander, will take over.
Was Johnny Wright a schoolboy? Was it schoolboy Wright?
No, that's this is Johnny Wright, I believe. That was Needle Nose Wright.
Okay.
There's 2 Johnny. This is, I think. I'm not sure which one you picked, but I think that this Johnny Wright was Jackie's teammate on Montreal in '46.
Was this Johnny Wright from Homestead? I can't.
Yes, 1947 for Homestead was his last appearance, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was him.
Because you're right, there is a Johnny Schoolboy Wright as well who did a lot of barnstorming with Satchel and other teams, yes.
And you had a lot of guys who did not make the big leagues, but one thing we really talked about is you had guys, and Johnny would be one of them.
He was doing Homestead. He was on the team.
And you had some guys who didn't, Jackie, obviously, Larry Doby, Wheeler Brown, Hank Thompson, the first 4, but there were guys who didn't make the big leagues who did go to the minor leagues and be able to play in the minor leagues, which were also, remember, they weren't welcome there either. And now they're going to play it. So it's still a barrier, and it's still a pretty notable thing, even they played in the minor league.
Absolutely. And,
PCL.
I think, that's a great point, Dan. I think that in the major leagues, you see the famous scenes of what Jackie and others had to deal with at the major cities. Imagine being in the minor leagues, and now you're in the the Southern Association or whatever league, and you're touring around, in some of these places. That could not have been easy on these guys in the minor leagues. Maybe even more difficult.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's that's that lifestyle. I mean, if the lifestyle of the minor leaguer is tough now, can you imagine what it was like back then? I mean, again, we're talking, it wasn't easy as, it's not easy, but it was definitely tough. And being, a black player, you're not welcome. That was just the way it was. Now, somebody mentioned the PCL, but it was a little more common out west in California to be a lot more accepted.
Yeah.
The California Winter League was really the first league that had black players, white players playing against each other on a competitive basis, as it's check swinging and got him at first base. Chet Brewer, the legendary Monarch, managed a team called the Kansas City Royals, who played the California Winter League, and Jackie actually played a short stint as a Kansas City Royal in the California Winter League with Chet Brewer, who was the manager and player manager.
Very cool. We got a new pitcher. You got Dutch Leonard on the mound. I like he's got a pretty interesting follow through the way they modeled him. Look at that. He does that little hitch at the end. I wonder who.
All-time favorite names.
Dutch Leonard. There was another Dutch Leonard. There's been a couple, I think, Dutch that kind of became like a carried down through the generations.
Right. 20-year career. That's going to be pretty well hit, and that's going to be flat. No, over his head. That'll one-hop the wall. That's a double. Did it one-hop the wall? I believe it did. Rackley get it one-hop the wall. Yeah,
put that a long way. Yeah.
Your attention,
he's
please.
going to slap that bad boy.
Now coming into pinch hit. Bob Boy.
One-hop the wall. Fans out there get a little souvenir. Rackley.
Yeah, we have the generated counts on. Otherwise, the game would be way longer. Get like a Yankees Red Sox game would take 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Bob Boyd.
Yeah, we would.
At the plate
But
here.
it's cool because we're already in the 7th inning. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
It moves along pretty fast.
So it does like a little mini sim, depending on the pitcher and the batter's rating.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Boyd's the batter. Boyd finished his career in 1961 with the Milwaukee Braves, I believe. He
this is
lays it out there.
This is the rope bat, and this is nice.
Yeah.
He was a heck of a hitter for sure.
I'm sorry, Milwaukee Braves, 1961. He played with Kansas City, the Athletics.
Oh, he did.
Long career in the big leagues, and played with the Memphis Red Sox. Got his start 47, 48 with the Memphis Red Sox in the Negro League. And then Chicago, White Sox.
And a great baseball nickname, the Rope.
Yes, the Rope.
Oh!
Gonna wait to see what happens.
Jackie!
Did he hit one? Back at the track, at the wall. This one is going to be gone. See you later. That is a 2-run home run for Jackie Robinson. See you later.
Oh,
Dutch is
tie.
like, yikes.
Man.
The other direction for Jackie, too, off the tail of the bat. I mean, that was cranked there.
You know that?
Attention, please.
Who did he hit that off? Was that off of Dutch Leonard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Bobo's coming in.
let's get weird.
Did I say 2-run shot, 3-run shot
Three-run
there?
shot. 6-6 ball game. That was a big blow from Jackie there, huh?
So Bobo Newsom is in now for Bob Feller's ball club with the manager who we don't know who that is. It's all good. We can always make the name up. And
That's
do
right.
anybody. Bobo Newsom, starter, also known as Buck.
I'm assuming Feller managed it, maybe.
Yeah, that may be him.
Yeah. Cutting the checks.
Yeah, there you go. Did you know that Newsom played for 9 of 16 at the time major league teams? How about that?
Oh, my goodness gracious. You got
Swinging
around,
away,
Bobo.
yeah.
He was, he was a little crazy, too, wasn't he? Jason, you
Yeah.
were telling me about him.
Yeah, he was a little eccentric. He's wearing number 0, and that's the number that it showed for him on Baseball Reference.
Isn't he the guy that always was the third person? I think that's who I'm thinking
Yes. Yeah.
of. But he even referred to himself in third person. I mean,
Yeah. The Bobo's hungry.
yeah.
The Bobo.
Somebody said he was a very eccentric player, and trying to think of the name of the player that the book I read that was also very much like him. The spy catcher was a spy. And I can't remember the name now.
Mo Berg?
Yes, Mo Berg. That they were two of the most unique individuals to ever don a major league uniform, and they were not really. They were ball players only just a few minutes they put a uniform on. Ground ball to short, 6-3 put out right there. We got a heck of a ball game, folks. Jackie's home run has tied things up.
Ladies and gentlemen,
How about
your
that?
attention,
That's
please.
cool on Jackie Robinson
Now,
Day that Jackie went deep with a 3-run
Ball.
homer. That's pretty cool.
Rick.
Wearing his Monarchs number 5. How about that? So Bill Ricks will take over. We got a nip and tuck here. You guys have got a good one going. Bill Ricks.
Well, that was 7th inning stretch time there.
Yeah, I guess we stretched and we stretched.
Now, here's a guy, Bill Ricks. I don't really know much about him, honestly. Most of these guys I've had, at least a little bit of knowledge over the years, but he was one that I don't really know anything about.
Well, let's see what I can pull up for us here.
Says his nickname was Schoolboy.
Another schoolboy. If you went to college, I think you were a schoolboy. Yeah.
Right, I believe so.
Yeah, Philadelphia Stars 44-48.
Yeah, shortstop as well. I do remember that. Yeah, he was from one of those North Carolina guys. It was one of the Carolinas, a real big baseball connection there.
The batter, number 10.
Rackley with that little sliding catch. That was nice.
Hard.
Look at that coming. Oh, yeah.
I love
How
the
about
replay.
that?
Look at that replay. That is so
How
cool.
about that? Little highway robbery sliding on his side there. How about that? Look at
Very
this
cool.
replay. Just, no
Now,
problem.
have you noticed this too? Look at they have everything down in this game. Have you noticed the shadows of the ballpark have moved? When we started the game, home plate had sun on it, and you see where the sun is now. It's all the way back in the top right corner. I tell you what, it's beautiful the way they do this.
Yeah,
It's not just a random thing.
Depending on the stadium, that ball coming out of the shadows, if you're playing it, like my old eyes, you can't pick it up.
I mean, I just think it's very. I mean, the little details are what makes it so much fun.
So Rizzuto.
Is it okay to be a homer? Because we're rooting for the Jackie team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're the home
Rizzuto.
broadcast.
Mickey Vernon is the batter. Six ball game here in the 7th on Jackie Robinson Day.
It was 1-0 for the longest time, and all of a sudden we're in a 6-6 ball game in the 7th. Crazy.
Just the offense came to play late in this one. Yeah, I watched. I sort of watched this last night. I watched Ohtani pitch for the Angels, and he got knocked around. So even the legends get knocked around.
They do.
5-3, little chopper toward third.
Ohtani's not hitting yet either, is he?
No, I think he got a hit single last night, maybe late in the ball game, but they were getting blown out. But
It's early in the season.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there's no panic. I don't think. I mean, he is definitely something. Here comes Buck Leonard again.
My fantasy team is horrible, and I look at it and I go, wait a minute. I got Byron Buxton. I got Mookie Betts. I got a bunch of really good players. They're all struggling to start the season. I mean, the whole entire team.
Well, here we go. Homestead Grays. And you can't talk about the Negro Leagues and not talk about guys like Buck Leonard and the Homestead Grays. That's an interesting story, and we don't have a lot of time here in this 8th inning, but called strike. But Homestead, there's like a 3-team rivalry, maybe 4, but the American Giants, the Monarchs, and the Grays and the Giants, the Monarchs were all, especially that East-West kind of rivalry. But we've actually do a thing in Kansas City where on Sundays the visiting team wears Homestead Grays throwbacks and we wear our Monarchs throwbacks. And so we've had Winnipeg wear them, and Chicago wear them, and Milwaukee wear them, and
every weekend you guys do that?
every home game, every weekend, Sunday, I believe it is. We do
Boy, that is fun. That is fun. You guys are doing some very, very cool things with the Monarchs. You mentioned a few of them last time when we talked to try to get people into not just the game, but the history and embracing all that.
Yeah, it's been. We try to tie as much of the museum as we possibly can because that's such a great resource. I mean, no other team in baseball has that resource. We have a strong swing with a strong one there too, and but yeah, we do. We're always tied in what they do. We've got it built in, and it's a really cool thing. And as a broadcaster, you always learn all the new things. I mean, I say new; they're new to me, but the different storylines.
And like you pointed out earlier, we were talking about. I think that tie to the history. That's how you get younger fans involved in the game.
Absolutely.
It's important.
All for it. I totally agree.
I watched, or I tuned in. There was a podcast or whatever that they did today with Bob Kendrick. Todd Radon was on there. Jeff Passan, a number of others. Smoke Stewart was there, several others. They were talking about that. And one of the things that they talked about was the travel ball and how it's pricing kids out of certain abilities to be able to play. And it's a shame.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's if you got to pony up thousands of dollars a year.
I'll
tell you what, I never would have played as a kid if that was the case for me when I was a kid.
We thought it was big to play around the corner. I mean,
that's right. Yeah,
I have no idea. I know.
My family.
When I played Legion ball, it was like $300 every season.
Yeah, sure.
And then, but now I can't imagine what.
Your attention, please.
Look at the bullpen. It looks like here.
Now pitching.
6-6 ball game. Yeah, you know that you were talking about the Homestead Grays. There's a lot of really interesting history of Homestead and Pittsburgh and the Crawfords and the whole relationship between those two teams and the city of Washington, D.C. There's a really good story, and I'll just kind of give it to you briefly as Lou Loda will take over behind the dish. But there's a story where the Monarchs played in a Negro Leagues World Series game against the Grays, or series against the Grays. The Grays were supposed to using ringers in 1942, I believe, and there was always this accusation they would use ringers. They would grab a couple of players in the Eastern League that were not in the playoffs, and there was always this controversy between the Monarchs and the Grays when they met up in the postseason. That one hit him? Yeah.
Ringers.
No, missed him.
No set like roster deadlines for playoff eligibility.
Well, and one of the early problems the Negro Leagues had, the reason they had a little trouble early, you had an East and West thing going on, and you would have, basically they'd pilfer each roster if you a player signed with Kansas City. Well, you know what? Come play for us here in Philadelphia or Hillsdale because we're going to pay you more, and the contracts weren't worth the paper they're printed on. And they weren't even printed. They were handshakes. They were really, there was a lot of that going on. Hit out toward right center field on the run. Not going to get there. Hey, we'll track it down there.
You just missed that one, Stan.
Just missed that. And that's the founding of the Negro League in the Negro American. Well, let's just take it to 1920 in Kansas City at the Paseo YMCA there. That founding was to try to bring a league structure together that would where contracts would be honored and players wouldn't be contract jumping and they wouldn't go to the Eastern League and vice versa, to keep players in an organized league. And that was one of the problems they had early on. Get out towards center, drifting back at the track and at the wall, making the play. There's out number 2. But the real hard part of getting traction with the Negro Leagues early was the fact you had a lot of contract jumping and they weren't worth anything. And that's one reason the structure was to get the structure in and get some kind of, contract and agreement where players wouldn't just bounce around. And who can blame them going with the best money? I know that's the way it works, but in those days it was very disorganized. They organized it in 1920 and tried hard throughout the 30s and 40s.
And then, Rube Foster had such a strong hand at being able to guide these guys and make sure that they stayed on the straight and narrow. So when he passed away, the Depression comes along, and you can see why there was a little bit of a time period there where the leagues were struggling. Of course, they were struggling everywhere, but that made it tough.
Yeah, Rube was ahead of his time, and it's unfortunate his demise. And he went into some kind of just a really downhill spiral pretty quickly. But he was a heck of a ball player, lifetime ball player, and I love the relationship and the relationship he had with J.L. Wilkinson, who was a founder of the Monarchs and originally the All Nations team. They were definitely not the same. I mean, Rube was this big, hulking, black fellow from the South, and J.L. was a skinny Midwestern white farm kid, shortstop, kind of a speedster, and they were definitely from different backgrounds, but they both shared a real common denominator, which was baseball. As Keltner takes one at the knees, that's a wicked back door right there. Yeah, but they developed this friendship and this business friendship and rivals. The Giants were rivals of the Monarchs, but J.L. Wilkinson was the only white owner in the Negro Leagues at the time, and he was as strong of an owner as anyone, and probably was the strongest franchise year after year. And it's an interesting dynamic between those two, Rube Foster and J.L. Wilkinson.
Absolutely. And then, you're talking about the contracts. Then through the 30s and 40s, you had the rise of leagues in Latin America that were pulling a lot of these guys. Mexico, Dominican, Cuba. And so, I tell you what, it was a wild time to be involved in baseball back in those days.
Yeah, we did a roster file for the Cuban Winter League in this season, too.
Oh, wow.
With the uniform. I mean, we had the library and the players built already, so now we kind of branch off.
Do little side projects.
Just mostly for our entertainment.
That's fun, though. I mean, that way.
I want to do like a WBC kind of file with this era, like a Team USA.
Oh, that'd be really cool. Like that. That'd be really, really cool. Yeah, and and back to Latin America's storyline. I mean, a lot of the players played down there because it was a better lifestyle. I mean, the lifestyle in Mexico and the Dominican Republic and Cuba for a black player was a lot more accommodating than the lifestyle in Birmingham or even St. Louis or Kansas City for that matter.
Yeah, like Wild Bill Wright became kind of a favorite as we've been studying this.
I love
past
Wild
year.
Bill Wright. Hey, I'm going
Yeah.
down. I'm going down the end of June into the first week of July,
There you
and
go.
I'm going to hook up with a couple of people who are into Mexican baseball history, and we're going to
Oh.
go. I'll post some videos on this, but we're going to Aguas Calientes. We're going to go on the quest to find Wild Bill Wright's dugout. So we'll see what we come up with. There's got to be somebody down there that knows the
Right.
history.
Well, can Jackie be a hero again? He tied the ball game earlier as he steps in. 6-6 ball game. Hits it sharply out toward the right side. That'll get on through.
Number 21.
Was that 3 hits for Jackie? 3 for
Yeah,
5,
three,
I think.
three
yeah.
for 5. And, people, I don't think we talked a lot about this, but, he obviously was a dual sport star, great football player at UCLA. He also was a short time as a coach at college down in Austin. Between 1944 and 1945, he did a little coaching, and the story goes his minister from his church in California had taken over as a university president at this school in Austin, Tolston University, and he winds up coaching part-time there. He was a really versatile guy in a lot of fields. Military guy, great athlete, statesman, civil rights, standing up for civil rights as a stolen base right there, and head first is.
What was his gap between playing? Because he had a gap before 45 where he didn't play any baseball, correct?
Yeah, he actually played in a semi-pro minor league football team, if I remember correctly. He also coached at that Tolston University. Coached their basketball team, and I don't know about their baseball. No, he coached their basketball team there. And the relationship between him and the university president went back to California. There was that gap, and he played in a semi-pro football league here and there as well. And when he was in the Army, he was bouncing around. Whenever he had to leave, he would try to do something athletic. And he was at Fort Hood, as a matter of fact, is when he got that gig. Eventually led to the gig coaching there in Austin because he was at Fort Hood in Temple. He winds up coaching there for a short time, and that gap there. But he's a busy 44, 45, and boom, signed. And after the late in 45 goes 46 to Montreal. But he saw a lot of the country in a short amount of time.
Sure did.
And he played that minor league football league. There's not a lot out there about that. But
Jackie tried to make it happen there. Singled, stole second, stole third, but
yep.
We're going to the bottom of the ninth now. Still 6-6.
Speaking of, on the modern game, man, I miss stolen bases.
I do too.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, I get called probably all kinds of the boomer and
Yeah, well.
but I really do think the 70s through about the early 90s was just a great overall time for baseball when you had a little bit of it all.
Yes.
Teams who could be like the St. Louis Cardinals, who were, Whitey Herzog's teams with pitching and defense and speed.
And be
You could compete and
perennial
win.
contenders. Yeah.
Yes. It was really, I mean, I don't like the three-true outcome at all that's going on today. for
Well,
sure.
Yeah, Joey Gallo.
my boy Joey, yeah. Although Joey's striking out not so much this year.
He's
They
on your
said-
team, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know I had to pick him. I had to take him. Right?
And speaking of, like, our team, that 2015 Royals team broke the mold, too. They built it on, that was all defense and speed when they won it.
Yeah.
In that bullpen, so that was entertaining. Stealing bases.
So we got Partlow still in there, huh?
Yeah.
Parlow, and they've pitch runner as well.
Here's Hegan. He had that big 3-run homer back in the 7th that tied the ball game.
Partlow, a man who grew up in Georgia. Cincinnati Tigers, Homestead Grays, Philadelphia Stars, Three River Royals, which is Trois Rivaux in Francais, Montreal Royals, and the Granbury Red Sox. His career wound up.
A long career too, right?
Yeah. Left-hander. And that's one of the things I need to do more of in my seat as a swing and a wave, and I throw the second, not in time, is learn more about the guys that aren't Monarchs.
Ah,
Guys, right?
yeah.
I get so much, but I believe Partlow was Played a lot of time down in Venezuela. I think a couple of years down there. But all those guys that.
I thought it was great when I had you on, you relating the fact that when the Monarchs became the Monarchs from the T-Bones, how you were embraced learning the history. I just think it's what's really, really important about all these stories.
Yeah, well, and how can I talk about it if I didn't know about it? Ground ball short. And, it opened up a whole new history because, honestly, in the minor leagues, the T-Bones had history, but it only went to 2000, when they were in Duluth. And now you've got a whole history of a name that goes back to 1920. And you've got all that extra things to talk about. And you've got, there's only so much history for a team that started in 2000, and now you've got, not that they were the same exact team, but the history is there. And we celebrate that history. And that name's not taken lightly, and I know our players appreciate the name as well. I know they really think being a Monarch is a cool deal. I know our manager, Joe Campanella, relishes that. Swinging away, boy, that went up the hands there, and Kerr swung on through it. Didn't tell you about Kerr. He stepped in as a pinch hitter. A lot of benches being empty here late.
I saw that. Frankie Hayes batted. And here comes Bob Lemon. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of new players in this ballgame.
See, I remember Lemon as a manager. That's who see. But Lemon was a heck of an arm too over the career. And I remember the story briefly. And you guys may recall, but was it the Yankees and the White Sox that hired him, or was it the other way around? I can't remember.
The Yankees hired him in the midseason after Billy Martin got fired for about
that's
the 15th
right, and
time.
That's
he
right.
won a pennant with them.
That's right. Was it the first guy that was a midseason signee as a manager that won a pennant, I believe?
That's right.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He had a heck of a career with Cleveland. That pitching staff in the 1940s, late 1940s and 50s was darn good that Cleveland had.
Early Lynn.
Yep.
Feller, Wynn, Lemon, Satchel was on that team.
Yeah.
That was a darn
Mike Garcia.
Yep. That was a good pitching staff that they had.
As we list off some good names, I do want to mention as we trend, because they're on the mound and they're in the box. We have guys with gold laces signify every Hall of Fame.
Oh, cool.
Anybody with gold laces is a Hall of Famer.
Nice
But we're not doing it just the National Baseball Hall of Fame. We're doing it for Japan.
Gotcha.
So there's Lemon. There's Lemon with his gold laces,
That's a great play. That's going to be a base hit, though, isn't it? Yeah. That just knocked it down behind the bag. It's a heck of a play at third.
Took away extra bases there, though.
Yeah, it would have been a double. Keltner diving on the bag, but boy, he saves the day.
I'll tell you what, this graphic, when you see these, it just blows me away. When I saw these guys, what they put together several months back, and I'm watching the videos, and I'm like, are you kidding me? When I saw these graphics, it is like watching a real baseball game. It really is.
Love it. Number 18. Ted Strong, who's last year, you were mentioning earlier, 1948, he played with the Indianapolis Clowns. But what's interesting, too, we're filling the gaps in, too. When you look at Baseball Reference or Scene Heads, and they're trying to fill those gaps in, it might say 20 ball games, but that's league games. It doesn't mean that he could have played 50, 60 games, and that's the thing that people don't realize. And they're just discovering now certain games were league games.
Well, there's a guy, he was warming up in the bullpen before with Partlow, Eugene Bremer. Flash Bremer, he had the lowest single-season ERA of any pitcher, but he only pitched like 36 innings because that's
right.
He qualified. Talking over play going on here. When Jackie's team takes the lead.
Yep, it's coming home from third. It's going to be 7-6. Yeah, it wasn't a great throw, but
yeah, it was way up the line. But
that infield single's big. That's huge.
But just recently, like you just mentioned, finding statistics and box scores, he went from first. He dropped back into closer into still in the top 10 because they found a start and added it, and now he's no longer the single season. So it's going to happen like that for a while.
Yeah. Building this as far as doing the player ratings within the game. I mean, a lot of the teams, like you and I talked about, Phil, like Birmingham, some of the stats were missing, where we went off a lot of the bios, just getting a feel for the player too.
What I find
What I
find interesting, and I'm sure that's why the stories are important. What if you only had X number of statistics, and now you're trying to create a story based on, and then all of a sudden that story could turn on its head because a whole bunch of other statistics are added to it.
Right.
That's why the literal stories are important, just like the stats are, because you may not have all the stats.
Right.
You never have all the stats.
No, I'm trying to, it's going to be Bremer coming in out to close the door here, 7-6. Loden's sack fly, a long-time Negro League star, gave him the lead. But I'll give you a quick one here, if I can, this inning, is Rizzuto faced Eugene Bremer. We discovered recently up in Saskatchewan, or John in Saskatchewan, some regular season games that were played that counted the Negro Leagues, but they didn't realize they were regular season games. So suddenly there was a player, and I forget the name now, who had one double his entire 1940 whatever season was. Well, they found another double, and he had one with two doubles that year. So they're finding those stats here and there, and because those were games. There's one hit out toward the right side, and that's going to be foul. You had your barnstorming games, but you also had some barnstorming games that were regular season games.
Yeah.
The Monarchs had played the Chicago Stars, for example, in Sioux City, and that would count as a Negro League game.
Yes.
They're starting to fill those gaps in, and some of them were barnstorming. Some were barnstorming games in the league. So it kind of depends on the definition.
And people need to just step back, put themselves back in this time period, excuse me, and wrap your head around those, because yes, I came across a newspaper from Allentown, Pennsylvania, where the Homestead Grays played a regular season game in Allentown. No connection at all to either team. I mean, they played the New York Cubans in that game. So but it counted as a regular season game.
Boy, double right there, and Phil Rizzuto's got the tying run at second with a up slide. Bremer just get down the line, and that was close.
That play in particular there is a good example of some of the sliders and settings we have set to where, like, they have a base running aggressiveness one, so like that grounder wasn't very deep in the outfield, but he, with the speed he has and the stealing rating he has and the base running aggressiveness he has, he decided, hey, I'm going to take this turn and I'm going to try and go get second.
Well, Mickey Vernon puts him over at third base now. It's the tying run at third. I love that. Those little things, those hook slides, and those little things the players did, that sets them apart.
We'll stand a man up here with a chance to tie up the ball game again. This is a good ball game.
Yeah, here in the 10th inning, 7-6. Tying run is at third. And Then up towards shallow center, or right center, or left center field, pardon me. Tagging and
wow, they held him up. Not deep enough. They weren't going to test Ted Strong's arm, I guess.
Strong, very shallow there. Gene Bremer, New Orleans, Shreveport, Cincinnati, Broadview, Industrials de Monterrey, Rochester, New Orleans. Those were his minor league teams. Negro League, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Memphis, Cincinnati, and Cleveland.
Wow.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Right. So now it's down to Charlie Keller.
Final hope here. Down toward left, drifting back and tracking it down, and that'll be the ball game right there. That is a win. Tracking it down on the run. Ted Strong with the final two plays there in the outfield. And Jackie Robinson's All-Stars 7-6 winners over Bob Feller, who just looks distraught there, doesn't he?
He did, didn't he?
He looks like he just lost Game 7. 7-11-0.
Well, he probably had some kind of parlay on the winner. You know, these guys used to do that kind of stuff all the time. With
sure.
Hey, if I win, I get this much more. And, you know,
I get the fillet tonight, or the ribeye.
Lou, of all guys, comes off the bench and is he hit a sacrifice fly, right?
Yes, sacrifice fly. Yeah, his career, El Paso Texans in
Fans are
1957, his final
First for the
career, but he was a
victorious
Negro League
team,
World Series
7
champion in
runs,
1947,
11
which would have been
no errors,
around
they
this
left
time.
8
We
men on
recreate this.
Yep.
There we go. Player of the game, Jackie.
For the home
Phil,
team,
Jackie
6
Robinson,
runs,
3 for
8
5. You're right
hits,
on.
no
On
errors,
Jackie
they
Robinson
left 5
Day.
men on base.
How about that? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Ball game.
Boy.
3 hours and 38 minutes.
I hadn't seen this before, and so I was worried that,
Joining us
it
here
would
this
turn out,
afternoon.
I want
And we remind
the
you
good guy to
please
win today.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right.
That's-
7-11-0, 6-8-0, and a final of 7-6.
That was a good ball game. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
I'm
I
gonna,
love that. It's kind of cool.
I'm going to throw us back on here.
No, it's really cool. That's a really cool deal. And you guys did a phenomenal job with that's just, it's amazing.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing.
I'll tell you what, this, the ability to do these kinds of things and find another way to tell the stories, I just think is so much fun. I love it. I'm glad you guys did it. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a
Sure.
lot. This was so much fun.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, let me, I think I got us back on here. I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this was fun. Jackie Robinson Day. We're telling the stories and a little bit of history, a little bit of context. I think, I tell you what, can't get much better than that. That was a lot of fun. And like I said, for you to take the time to do this was great. So the Monarchs start the season up when?
Monarchs exhibition games the 6th and 7th against the Savannah Bananas, then an 8th against Lee Summit, and then the opening night, the 13th of May, Friday the 13th. Dun 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 dun.
Oh,
Ring
wow.
ceremony and fireworks,
Oh, that's right.
and Monarchs trying to go for back-to-back.
Champs.
Just signed Pete Cosma last week, so we got Pete Cosma to go with Vladimir Guerrero's cousin, and we've got a loaded lineup. Jan Hernandez is back. I mean, he hit a monster's home runs last year. We've got the Darnell Sweeney, all of the Monarchs to get the band back together for Joe Kath-Pietras. So it should be great. MonarchsBaseball.com for all that. We'd love to have you guys come see us. And if you're in Kansas City, make a double, the two-step. I actually call it the two-step. You got baseball and you got barbecue. So come by and see us, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum at 18th and Vine, and grab some barbecue. Do the baseball two-step there in KC. Monarchs and the museum and barbecue. There you go. There's my civic duty right there.
There you go.
There's so much to see and do in Kansas City. There really, really is. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. How many games? What do they play? 110? How many games are they playing?
100 game regular season.
100. Okay.
And we've got an exciting new division this year, East and West, and they put all the Chicago teams together, and the Milwaukee. There's 2 teams in Milwaukee, 3 in Chicagoland, and then Cleburne, Texas gets to travel up to there to play those division bump mates. And then our divisions: Winnipeg, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Fargo, Lincoln, and the Kansas City Monarchs. So it should be lots of fun. It's great baseball. We've got more big leaguers than ever before. Again, like I said, getting guys like Pete Cosma in, that's just really huge for the league. We've got Akeem Bostic, who pitched for the Mets last year, is going to be with us again this year. Just a lot of really talented guys. And when I came to this league in 13, it was rare to see a guy with that kind of pedigree, AAA, AA, big league pedigree. Now you're seeing it left and right because our partnership with Major League Baseball, it gives the major leaguers one more place to find and maybe sort of stash talent if they need to find it and watch a guy that's coming back from an injury can watch him recuperate in our league and they get signed. And we led the league in players signed last year back to affiliated baseball,
right.
and still won the league. So go figure.
Go figure. Maybe we can use something like this down the road to try to get some light shined on Australian baseball. You were saying talking about your.
It's funny you guys are talking about World Baseball Classic, and the Australians have only been really competitive in the last 20 years or so. But we got like Dave Nielsen and Graham Lloyd, both guys that I dear friends of mine, and I think nothing in the world of those two gentlemen. In fact, Dave Nielsen is the hitting coach for the new team in the Lake Country in our league, the Dockhounds.
Yeah,
he's the hitting coach. But Dave, and you've got guys like Paul Gonzalez, who was a former star at TCU. There's enough there, but there's I don't know how good they would be on the world stage as a fantasy team. But you've got there's a few players. You've got a few Liam Hendricks is one.
Liam
You have a
Hendricks.
closer there. But there's not, the Luke Hughes played the big leagues. So you got, of course, pitching wise, the Australians pitching staff would be great because you got Peter Bolin, guys like that, Grant Balfour. They'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to score some runs unless Dave was hitting every time. But yeah, baseball Australia is growing, and we're just glad that hopefully COVID's behind us and we can play winter ball in that beautiful country next year.
Well, guys, thank you so much. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun. We got to
Absolutely.
see Jackie
Appreciate
on
it.
Jackie Robinson Day, the voice of Dan Vaughn, doing some play-by-play. We're telling some stories. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
guys. Appreciate it. Much love to y'all. Good to see you.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I appreciate it, gentlemen. Keep it up. Keep the good work up.
Will do.